Hey, everybody, welcome into a very special episode of Husker Women's Wednesday. I'm Jessica Coody, and my guest today is someone I've been wanting to talk to for 2 years now, but I'm excited to finally get her in here. Whether you've seen her or heard about her as a student athlete or you've listened to her call broadcasting on Big Ten Plus, she's everywhere. She's doing everything, the epitome of a student athlete. Arden Louchheim, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me today. I obviously see your name everywhere when it comes to broadcasting, and so I'm psyched to get to chat with you today.
So much to get into, but we're doing this as a part of our National Girls and Women in Sports Day celebration, and so pretty cool to get to talk to you as an athlete, as a junior on the golf team, but then also as someone that's in sports broadcasting, and you love covering women's sports.
It's been a super fun combo. I think I have a unique perspective of I know what it's like to live it day in and day out to be a student athlete, and I think that lends itself well to my broadcasting because I think I can add the level of depth that just you don't get if you're not that athlete side as well. So it's really fun to kind of also get to cover my friends a lot. I know a lot of the female athletes, and I'm biased, but I do like to cover women's a little bit more than men's. Just, I think our women's sports are awesome, and I think Nebraska does a great job of highlighting them.
I say that all the time, that it's one of my favorite things about being here since I've gotten here is just the support for women's sports. I mean, we just announced flag football, another women's sport here, but just that fans show up, they care, but then also within the athletics department, we also want to be competitive there too. That's got to mean a lot to you as a student athlete coming in, that the fans are going to be there, they're going to watch when you're calling the games, they're going to tune in, but you also have the support internally as well.
From a broadcasting side, it's phenomenal because there's no pro sports, or there's volleyball now. But besides that, we don't have a lot of pro sports teams here in the basketball or the football. And so when you go and call a Husker game, it feels like you are calling a pro sporting event, even when it's women's. And so that does come from the experiences with the fans and the support that the fans give. And so from a broadcasting perspective, I'm getting such incredible reps in just because I go to a media room, I walk through the fans, I walk through the stadium, and it gives that really real game day feel. So that's been great for my development on that end. And then being an athlete myself, it's just the days that maybe you don't want to wake up and work out, you have your team with you and the fans behind you, and there's a lot of kind of good extra motivation there as well.
So sports broadcasting runs in your blood. Your dad, play-by-play announcer for the Utah Jazz, David. But was that something you always wanted to do? Did that play into your decision to want to come to Nebraska, being both what was provided as a sport, but then also the broadcasting side of it too?
Yeah, so my dad is a play-by-play announcer for the Jazz. My mom actually was a sideline reporter for the Seattle Seahawks, and they met at a press conference. So it really was kind of in my blood. And I grew up around it, and I've always played sports. That was my favorite thing to do. I was that kid whose parents had 5 different sporting equipments in the back of their car, and we would just go from practice to practice. And so that's always been something I loved, but I knew from a young age that the harsh reality is that a very small percentage of people get to continue sports for a long time. I'm very lucky to even be doing it now in college. And so when my playing days are over, whether that's when I graduate here or when my pro career ends, I wanted to stay involved in sports, and both my parents showed me that sports broadcasting is an avenue to do that. So it was 100% inspired by them, and then they, exposed me to it once I showed interest. It was never a push, but it was, hey, if you're interested in this thing, then, we're going to allow you opportunities to see what it's like. So I would go to Jazz games with my dad a little bit early, and I would put on what I called my broadcasting clothes, which I was 12, so those weren't very nice, but it just wasn't a jersey. And so I would wear my little sweater and go to the press conferences and stuff before with my dad, and then I would change into my jersey and watch the game. And so they gave me a lot of opportunities to be exposed to it. And then coming to Nebraska, on my official visit, I had a tour of the journalism college, and it was phenomenal. And their whole theory is do from day one. And I loved that because I didn't get a lot of reps in high school. It was very, like I said, it was school focused and sports focused, and there wasn't a lot of time for everything else. And so getting the chance to know that when I come to Nebraska, I can immediately start getting those reps in, it was a perfect match with the combination of the journalism and the golf.
Okay, so many places to go here, but golfing ends up being what you choose, but you were also a competitive skier. You did alpine skiing. How'd you get into that, and what was that like, competing in that?
I'm from Park City, Utah, so that is kind of the sport in Utah is alpine ski racing, and my high school had or my whole school. I went to the same school, K through 12. So, but my school had a ski academy, and so I was in that ski academy since kindergarten. And so it grew up being more of just kind of something I did in the afternoon, and it kept me busy. And then I actually did really love it. And day in, day out, it became a team that I was really proud to be a part of, and also a sport that I worked very hard at. And I considered going to college for it for a long time. My older brother Carter was on the same ski team as me, and he did ski D1 in college at Williams. And so that was also kind of another role model ahead of me who showed me that that is an avenue you can take. But at the end of the day, I think I just had a little bit of a deeper love for golf, and I could see myself going farther with it. And that's kind of ultimately what drew me towards golf instead of ski racing. But a lot of my friends are still doing it. Elizabeth Bocock, who's one of my closest friends, just got 12th in the World Cup today. Her older sister, Mary, is also a good friend of mine and a teammate. She just made the Olympics. So there's a lot of, cool things coming out of what my friends did, and it's fun to watch them now just as a fan.
Do you still like to ski just recreationally?
It definitely has gone down. The second that I was on a collegiate team and people were relying on me, the thought of getting hurt became a little more prevalent. But I still go out a couple times a year, which was a drastic decrease from, I was skiing upwards of, 80 to 100 days when I was racing, because we would go and travel and find snow. And so that was definitely a really big difference for me, but I still have that skill in me. And I know the second that I'm done golfing, it'll definitely be something that I go do.
You watched it in the Olympics and there are so many crash outs. Is it scary? I mean, I would be like, scared to death.
I also kind of part that contributed to stopping was I never got injured besides the occasional I twisted my knee or my shoulder popped out of socket. I never had a big injury. And so going into my junior year of high school, having never torn an ACL or never broken a bone, knock on wood still, I was pretty pleased with making it out of that sport fairly unscathed. And so that also contributed to it. But yeah, it's a physically demanding and a dangerous sport. But I also think that helps with my golf because there's never going to be a golf hole that is as scary as standing in the start gate. And you're not scared of injury on a golf hole. You could lose your ball, it could go out of bounds, but you're never going to get hurt. And so I think that's a different level of pressure and a different level of fear that I think has lent itself well to golf.
Wow, fascinating. Okay, so why golf then? Why, how, where'd you find your love for the sport of golf?
When we moved from Seattle to Utah, which was for my dad's job, our rental house was on a golf course. And so it was just right there. And so that was my first kind of intro into it, is I went to the range with my dad. Neither of my parents were big golfers, but they both dabbled. And so I immediately just enjoyed it because I think when you're 3, you're not really allowed to hit things very often. And I think I liked that. And then it definitely became more of a love of, I started playing it more often. I started taking it a bit more seriously. But I didn't play a tournament until I was 8, which sounds early, but in comparison to some of these girls was actually kind of late. And I saw a movie called The Short Game. It's this documentary about these young kids going to the World Championships in Pinehurst. And I watched that, and at the time I had never played a competitive golf tournament, but I saw it and I saw that tournament, and I said to my parents, I want to play in that. And so this is such a great representation of my parents and their support, because they did the research and were like, okay, what is even the qualification process? Is that even possible? And so they put me in the U.S. Kids Tour, and I played that the whole summer, and I actually did ultimately qualify for that World Championships in 2015 that summer. So that was kind of the start of it, is watching a movie and realizing I wanted to take golf to a competitive level, and then kind of the rest is history.
Wow, that's cool. So hey, advice to young golfers: watch movies, watch documentaries. Yep. You never know. Okay, so over the summer, you won the Utah Women's State Amateur back in July. What was that? How rewarding was that? And that competition, was that like?
I mean, I still get kind of giddy thinking about it. That's the biggest athletic accomplishment of my life. It's probably up there on just best days of my life. It's pretty close to calling the bowl game recently with my dad, but athletically, that was kind of the pinnacle for me so far. And it was really cool for me to do it at home. I have so much pride in Nebraska and wearing the N on my chest and all of that. But obviously, that's a pride that's been adopted in the last 3 years. And with Utah, that's where I would say I'm from. I've lived there since I was 3. I don't remember living anywhere else. And with the golf community there, it's pretty tight-knit. We're smaller, but it's a very strong golf community. And so adding my name to a list of girls whose names I know and careers I've watched was absolutely incredible. And, my parents were there. My brother was there. One of my best friends was caddying me that day. And it was, that's a memory I'm going to keep for a long time. And those pictures I still will look back on, every week, just to kind of remind myself how cool that week was.
You came from behind too, right? On the final day?
The final day I was leading almost the whole day, but the semifinals, I guess, it's like a March Madness bracket basically is the style. If anyone watches the Ryder Cup, it's match play in a March Madness style bracket, which I also love. It's match play is the best in golf. It's a different style. But
some people either love it or hate it, right?
Yeah, I love it. And I think that comes from playing other sports. As I played basketball, I played softball. So I kind of like that mano-a-mano competition, and match play gives that. But yeah, so my semifinal round was against Kelsey Chugg. She's like this legend in Utah golf. Her record was something crazy in match play. She'd only lost like 2 or 3 times. She absolutely whooped my butt last year in this same tournament. So that was a pretty big one for me to win. But yeah, the finals match, I was comfortably ahead for most of it.
So what can you take away then from winning such a prestigious honor going into your junior season here collegiately?
It was a good reminder that I'm good enough, and my sophomore year didn't go the way I wanted to. It wasn't a bad year, but it didn't stack up to my freshman year. And so I think it was just a really good reminder that I'm on the right path and I'm doing the right things and I'm working on the right things. And so that was a real confidence boost for me to know that I can hang with the best people in Utah who, in my opinion, can stack up to many of the states out there. And I think it's been a good thing for me to lean on as well after a rougher first semester, just to know that I am good enough. And golf is such a finicky sport, and it comes with so many ups and downs. And so having that just kind of mark where I'm not ever trying to emulate that, and I think that was kind of something I had to learn, but just remembering that for a week of my life and beyond that, I had a pretty good summer. I was really good, and that's still in me. And so just knowing that the more I work and the more time I put in, like, it's going to come back, even if there are some lower moments.
How do you balance all of it? You know, making sure that you're doing what you need to do as the athlete part of it and preparing the golf part of it, but then also doing all the things that you're doing in the sports broadcasting world. And look, we talk about it all the time. I mean, the preparation is no joke when you're trying to prepare for teams. It's one thing when you're preparing for Nebraska, you know that team, but the other teams that they're playing, and you obviously do your research. So how are you balancing both the demands of an athlete, but then also the demands of a broadcaster?
The athletic side, obviously, not that it comes first, but I don't ever want the broadcasting to interfere with that. I would say my academics comes first of the grades, and then it's athletics, and then it's broadcasting, because ultimately broadcasting is kind of something extra that I do add. It's part of my curriculum, but a lot of the game calling and stuff is genuinely just extra stuff. So I always want to make sure I'm putting in work for my team and that I'm the best I can be for them, and I want to make sure my grades are in order. But I would say, luckily, I don't have the same academic rigor as, like a pre-med or a business college or something like that, just because a lot of mine are projects based. And so the class load is manageable. It's not insane amounts of reading or insane amounts of work outside of class. And so it does give me time to prep for the Huskers. But I think it's a lot of planning. My high school was really difficult. I went to the hardest high school in Utah. And so that was a lot of time management to handle schooling and golf and skiing, because I did that up until my junior year, like I said. And so now in college, I'm just kind of applying those same skills. My Google Calendar looks like a rainbow. And so I write everything down. There will never be something that is not on my calendar, and then just kind of sticking to that regimen. But I don't like having free time, so I think that's also good. I like being busy and stuff like that.
Okay, so what is your favorite sport to call then?
I've been getting asked this a lot, and it's really hard. Football's really cool, just because I think the magnitude of it is something that's pretty hard to emulate. I probably am enjoying basketball the most right now. I think part of that is with my dad. That's what he does. And so it's really cool to basically do his exact job. And then from a more personal standpoint, I'm really good friends with almost the entire softball team. And so getting to call them is also just very cool, because I get to watch my friends do their thing. And then adding kind of a new one to the list, I called gymnastics for the first time this past weekend. And I'm roommates with 3 gymnasts. So also just that kind of emotional pride of getting to do my thing of calling the gymnastics meet while my roommates got to do their thing of doing their sport is really, really cool. But if I had no emotional connection to anyone in the game, probably basketball.
Okay, so what's your best call then? A big 3-pointer or a big basketball play, a touchdown or a home run?
I think probably basketball. I'm working on the 3-point call. I think right now, I'm still early, right? I've only been broadcasting for 2 years. I have a couple tendencies that when a call gets big or excitement gets high, I revert to the same words. So I think I'm almost at my best right now when it is a good play and I can go on and describe it of, left hand up off the glass, finger roll, and I can get into that. I'm still really developing that close game, big energy call. And I'm not afraid to say that, like same with golf, you develop, and broadcasting is definitely developing too. So the big energy calls are a work in progress, but I've got a lot of great teachers around me to help with those.
Okay, so how was the Las Vegas Bowl and getting to call that with your dad, and your mom was there spotting for you, right?
Yep.
What was that experience like?
It was so cool. I mean, kind of the same way that I feel about the winning the stadium. It's the same as that of just, it's a memory that was so huge for me and my family, and it's one we're going to remember for so long. And Yeah, I mean, my parents are my role models in not just the professional sense, but also just as humans. I think they're the two greatest humans on this earth. And so getting to follow in their footsteps and also be the lead of the broadcast, I was play-by-play, my dad was color, was super cool. Like that first time I got to say, welcome back to 90.3 KRNU, I'm Arden Louchheim alongside David Locke. That was one of the coolest sentences I've ever gotten to say. So just it was a storybook, event really, just getting to follow my dad's footsteps and do our thing together with my mom there also they were playing Utah. So a weird connection there that's the college team I did grow up watching. I was never an avid Utah fan, but if we turned on college football, it was the U. So just so many things came together. And yeah, I'm never forgetting that day.
How's your dad as a color analyst?
He was great. He was so nervous. It was so funny. He thinks so highly of all of the kids that I get to broadcast with, and all of the work that we put in, he knows about because he sees it. And so he was nervous. He was like, I need to make sure I hold my own, because obviously he's a play-by-play NBA guy. He is very versed in many sports. He, is the CEO of a podcast network and that covers every league. So he knows, but he was nervous, but I think he did great.
So is it, being that your mom was a reporter, your dad's a play-by-play, do you have something specific you want to do? Do you want to be an analyst? Or is it, hey, I'll figure it out and just want to try out everything right now?
Entering college, I said I wanted to be kind of like a Scott Van Pelt or a Pat McAfee and host a show. The more that I've done play-by-play, the more I like it. And I think part of that maybe was like, I don't want to say I want to do the exact same thing as my dad. But then as I've been doing the exact same thing as my dad, I really like it. So we're still up in the air, but definitely play-by-play or a color host, or a TV show host, because I think those are the two that have drawn me the most.
Is it pressure at all, knowing what your dad does, and people are, going to always know that about, hey, this is the daughter coming up?
A little bit, but I don't know. I think my parents have handled it so well that they're really letting me kind of do my own thing and write my own story. And there's always going to be stuff that comes with it of when you are entering the same industry as your parents. But I don't know. I think my parents have done a great job to not really apply any pressure.
Yeah, that's awesome. I like to, on this podcast too, also ask about other maybe challenges that up and coming athletes might be facing in that comparison game, or, just following in the big footsteps, and how you manage that. What advice would you give?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is my sports psychologist actually has worked with me a lot on this, and it's know what your values are. So, we established my 3 main values, and then I try to live every day, and my parents did this too, of making sure that every decision I make or every action I take aligns with those values, because then that can apply to everything you do, of whether it's how I approach practice or how I approach a tournament, how I approach my homework, how I approach a broadcast. All of that can be applied, and then I can go to bed at night not feeling just proud of Arden as an athlete, Arden as a broadcaster, Arden as a student, but Arden as a person. Because I think at the end of the day, when all of this goes away, that's who I am. And credit to my parents, 'cause I think they really instilled that in me. And then a lot of great people around me have kind of continued that.
I love that. Great advice. That gives me chills, actually. Okay, so let's focus, because you got a golf season coming up.
I do.
And entering your junior season, you got a new coach, Bre Hall. I had a chance to chat with her right after she got hired. Love her. Really excited about, the direction that she could take the program. But what has it been like getting to know a new head coach and the expectations that Coach Hall has for you?
It's funny because entering my junior year, I was like, okay, I think I'll finally feel like I know what's happening. Of freshman year, you just get thrown in. And then sophomore year, it's your first time not living in the dorms. There's not as much help for you because you're not a freshman anymore. So that was also a big adjustment. So entering junior year, I was like, okay, I will know what's happening. And I didn't. And that's totally fine, because it was a new coach and new expectations. And it has been awesome. Coach Hall is incredible. She is one of the most competitive people I've ever met, and I love that. I think that's huge for our team. And she expects a lot out of us, which I think is great for all of us to have, is that expectation to be excellent, because I think we truly all can be. So it's been fun to see kind of how practice changes a little bit. It's taken on a slightly different form. We do a lot of competitions in practice. Qualifying is a little bit different. We solely go based on score now. In the past, it was coaches' picks. So it's been fun to see, what has changed and what what stays the same. But I've loved every second of it, and I think I'm developing as a golfer as well, which is important.
So you have more experience, I think, than any other golfer in the program going into this year. That's what the bio says, anyway.
Going into this year, yeah. I don't know if after the fall it's still true, but
yeah, being the last 2 seasons going into this year as a whole. So what are your goals? How do your goals change? What you want to accomplish here as you kind of move into being more of the upperclassman, and one of the leaders, being that you do have a lot of experience?
I think it's a balance of trying to be a leader on this team and make sure that I'm setting the tone for what a Husker golfer is and setting that expectation, but also learning from the people below me of, one of our freshmen, or both of our freshmen truly have been kind of people who've supported me throughout this year of when a day gets hard or something like that, I can lean on them, which feels funny on paper of being, the juniors getting supported by the freshmen. But I think that was a learning process for me too, to be open that we're not that different in age. It's only 2 years and everyone can really support each other and everyone can learn from each other. So I think that's been really big. And also one of our sophomores is a transfer over from the team that Coach Hall coached on. And so, yes, she's younger than me. Yes, it's her first year here, but also she probably knows more about Coach Hall's tendencies and Coach Hall's expectations and stuff like that. So I think it's been a really big year of learning for me and, also knowing that I can excel in other places besides golf of I want to contribute to this team and my goal is to make us the best team that we can be, but also knowing that, if you look on the stat sheet, I didn't have the greatest fall. I'm not afraid to say that, and that's totally fine. But it also allowed me to develop a lot as a broadcaster. And so there are kind of, benefits of certain things that can look dark, and I'm going to have a better spring. I know that. And at the same time, I want to keep doing broadcasting, and I want to keep helping the golf team.
For when Coach Hall came in and we talked to her, and I feel like it's every sport here, the expectation is to win, to make postseason appearances, to compete for trophies. What's your belief in just what this group could potentially do this spring, but also moving forward this program with Coach Hall?
I think under Coach Hall in, the next 5-10 years, whatever it is, the future of this team is so incredibly bright. You're seeing her taking over a group of girls that she didn't recruit, and she loves all of us, and I know that, and she's made that very, very clear, which I also think is huge. But also seeing what she can do with recruiting and bringing in her own girls and stuff like that, I think is very exciting to see because she's done so much with a group that she literally just adopted. And I think, like I said, the expectation piece of just we are expected on a day-to-day basis to be great, and I think that's awesome. So I think we can go and compete for, top 5, top 3 at Big Tens this coming year. And then I think we can compete for the title in years after that. Our conference got much, much stronger with the additions of Washington and Oregon and UCLA and USC. I mean, Oregon, UCLA, and USC are all top 15 or 20 in the nation. So those were massive additions. But I think we can hang right with them. I mean, Coach Hall got us to our highest ranking in recent memory. I think we were around 71 or something like that. So we're definitely moving up, and there's undeniably work to do, but we're all willing to do it, and we have incredible leadership to do it behind.
Oh, great stuff. All right, so again, it's National Girls Women in Sports Day as we celebrate again how far women's sports have come with Title IX. But who are your, I guess, biggest female women's role models, whether it be in sports or broadcasting?
I mean, my mom is number one. She, not even just in sports, but just like I said, as a person, it was her birthday 2 days ago, and I sent her a long text kind of talking about all of this, but she was a incredible broadcaster, and I didn't get to see it. Obviously, she stopped when I was 1 or 2, I believe, but I've seen videos of her, and so knowing that she balanced even having 2 kids for a year and doing that is incredible to me. And then seeing her since then, she is the most selfless person. She puts our entire family before herself. She's always there to call me. I called her at 11 p.m. last night and we talked for an hour just because I wanted to talk to her. And she's always there for me like that. So she's my biggest role model. And then on the athletic standpoint, I think Lindsey Vaughn, being a ski racer myself, just especially now that she's having the comeback that she's having and winning 2 World Cup races after being out for 5 years with, an entirely new knee. I think she's super cool, just showing that hard work and perseverance in an absolutely brutal sport can really pay off. And I think Serena Williams is also a huge one because she's so undeniably herself, and her personality is big, and she's loud, and she will fist pump and celebrate. And I love that because I think sometimes women are told to be small or to not take up as much space. And I love that Serena is, just a big person and a big personality, and she shows that emotion because that's more so what I like to do.
What a fantastic conversation. It was well worth the wait and lived up to all of my expectations. We'll have to have you back on again. Thank you so much. It's been so great chatting with you, and I can't wait to continue to watch your career because you are a rising star. There's no doubt about it.
Thank you. And I just want to thank you. You highlight all sports for Nebraska, but women's sports so well. So I know just from the athlete's side, all of us are very thankful.
Well, thank you so much. That means a lot. That is Arden Louchheim here with us on a Husker Women's Wednesday. Emeritus is proud to power this podcast and all of Husker women's sports. Thanks for listening and watching.